So, I was reading your website. You believe the one size fits all approach to travel lacks the resources to serve the everyday traveler. And you have a B2B solution for that. But before we get into what it is, tell us what problem you set out to solve.
So we've got this world where today's consumer, today's traveler, we crave personalized experiences, right? The right thing at the right time. And that drives these moments of authentic connection, which is why we all love travel so much and why I believe that more travel done right is better for the world. At the same time, the ability for a brand to deliver personalization is dependent on knowing their customer, is dependent on data on the consumer's preferences and what they want. And that's the fundamental problem. Brands don't know their customers. They don't have access to what our true preferences are. And our approach to it is that there's this untapped data that sits on our phones, such as photo metadata, and we can get into it. And ultimately, we are giving control to the consumer to decide to harness that data, transform it into a profile that does represent them, and then they can choose to share it with a brand. Then the brand can personalize.
So, what exactly is it?
The product?
What is the product?
Yeah.
Interesting because third-party data is getting harder and
Yeah.
harder to get your hands on, and nobody wants to give it up anymore. Really, rightfully so. But we do struggle when we travel to experience what we really set out to experience. And so there's going to be a little give and take. So, yeah, go ahead and describe for us what it is.
Yeah. So I think to pick up on what you said, the current data landscape is this. A brand has first-party data. So it knows the couple times that you stayed with Marriott in the last 10 years, right? Not a full picture of who you really are. If they have that. Hypothetically, they have first-party data. They could also pay for third-party data. So that could be trends-based data, it could be transactional. Again, like not a full picture of who we really are as consumers. And so then you layer in privacy regulations and cookies going away next year. You know, it's official. Google are running a test right now with a goal of no cookies by the end of the year. Brands are finding it increasingly difficult to have a full picture of who we are. And so our approach is saying it's not about optimizing existing sources of data. There can be an element of that. But we've taken a whole new approach in saying zero-party data is the future. And there's an official definition of zero-party data, which is data that a consumer intentionally and proactively shares with a brand in return for a value exchange, such as personalization. And so our solution is a single opt-in consent permission from a consumer to allow Legends, our DNA technology, to scan their photo metadata. So imagine the data that sits behind your photos. And over time, there'll be other data sources as well. When we've scanned that, we can deliver back this really cool profile of who you really are as a traveler. Your TravelDNA is what we call it. So not just every country and city you've been to, but now we know you love to surf in the morning in the Costa Rica type climate in January with your family, and you love boutique hotels and sushi, for example. And so that can be delivered in a cool way for you to experience as a consumer. And at the same time, with your consent, it's being shared with a brand in an actionable way. By the way, it's also updated in real time. So as you evolve, as you travel, your DNA evolves. And now that brand can personalize to you the right thing at the right time, cross-channel. So example, to bring it to life, in a brand's app, in the profile section, instead of manually inputting things, one button that says, create my TravelDNA powered by Legends. With that process, you've now got this populated profile, the brand knows you, they can surface the right thing to you with no effort from you.
So as a consumer, you download an app.
No, not actually. The way we are going to market as a B2B SaaS tool.
Okay.
So our API can be implemented anywhere within the existing flow of a brand and a consumer. So imagine big hotel company loyalty. I don't necessarily want to use names, but imagine one that you have on your phone. In the onboarding or the profile section of that, there can sit this button that says create my travel DNA powered by Legends. And with that, you don't have to download a new app or anything else. You've given the consent, our technology processes and gives back the profile. And then we have a relationship with that brand to deliver them the data in an actionable way. Now, over time, once you've created your DNA, you own it as a consumer. You decide who you share it with. So there will be a control panel, kind of a centralized app, if you will, where it's your Legends DNA wallet. And you decide, okay, here are the 20 brands I want to share this with. Maybe here's the 10 brands I want to share some of my DNA with. And then there's ones that I don't. Then that centralized app, we can surface recommendations on, and over time we can unlock booking revenue. But right now we're really focused on this B2B SaaS solution, which is we're mainly focused on an API right now. And there'll also be a white label version as well.
And so it's integrated into a brand's app.
Yeah, it could be into a brand's app, could be into their website, could be into basically the existing. We're not trying to change the flow of how a brand and consumer currently interact. We're trying to keep it as seamless as possible.
Yeah, because I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the consumer. And how I want this to go. So what if I'm on a website of a hotel, and it's going to have a little widget, it's going to have a little button. What's that look like?
Yeah, so imagine that there's a button that says create your travel DNA powered by Legends. With that opt-in, that's when we can scan the data. If you've already created your DNA in another context, we can just pull it in. So it looks like, it's called an OAuth solution. When you use your Google sign-in for things, imagine using your Legends sign-in for things.
Yeah.
So once it's been created, once it can be used multiple times. And now you've got this enhanced profile for that brand and we deliver it as insights and marketing signals so that brand knows what to surface to you when. So now, let's say you're the Costa Rica surfer that we just talked about. They know to surface this offer for this super cool new boutique hotel that has a great surf break nearby.
Yeah. So how does so this is what hit me when you were talking earlier was, so you have all these photos, but some of these photos are like your kids like I'm in Texas, like kids in the backyard. How does it differentiate between that and like how you would want to build your travel DNA?
Totally. So one of the first things we did when we had the idea was we built a consumer facing app. We built the Legends app, which is on the App Store, to test, could we build an interesting profile from this data and would people opt in? And consistently 90% of people did opt in, and we learned the types of things that were interesting to build as a profile. We also learned how to optimize the photo data. So for example, there's a whole screening process that we have that excludes screenshots. There's a whole preference tiering process that we have. If you take 50 photos of something, you probably like it more than the one photo that you took. And then to exclude photos that don't have useful data about who you really are as a traveler. So there is a whole process that has been iterated on over time and will continue to be so, that's enabled us to essentially extract useful DNA information. And I guess our whole point is all of this data sits on a phone and it's not being used in a way that's useful to us as consumers or brands. And so we tried to build a tool that is able to harness it in a way that's trusted and easy.
Now, so the consumer's got to be educated on travel DNA, right? And so you're equipping the brands to educate the consumers, or what does that look like?
Yeah, great question. And so really the ask is being made in the context of the brand's relationship. And so we are working with the brands as to the best messaging for that, the best positioning of that in the flow. And again, it's all about transparency, right? And so there is that side of it. At the same time, we, Legends, as a brand, are building our brand as the trusted zero-party data platform that is enabling this new way that brands and consumers interact. And so there are those two sides of the story. And it's actually interesting if there's studies that show that like 83% of people want to share more information about themselves, but we just don't have easy, trusted tools to do it.
Yeah. And I don't know how, we don't know what do I do with this?
But if it surfaced to you in a really easy, like, oh, do this one click, and in return, you're going to get personalized offers, great. With some brands, they may also offer like specific rewards, right? At the point of doing it, you get extra loyalty points or you get a specific discount. And over time, there can be kind of a Legends loyalty concept to it as well.
Now, are you in beta? Are you working with brands? Do you have customers?
We are in implementation with our first 2 customers currently. And
You don't
like I
want to
said,
name them?
what's that?
You don't want to name them?
We can. Nice for Travel, which is an AI-powered travel advisor platform. And then also Tripian, which is a API platform.
Okay.
And then we have a whole pipeline. Since we started talking about the B2B product, like less than 3 months ago now, we built a pipeline of more than 40 customers, some inbound, some outbound. We were fortunate enough to be selected as the startup of the year by Focusrite. And so that gave some great industry validation and connections there. And so we're in the great position where we can now select our partners going forward. So yeah, we have delivered our API, and we'll continue to kind of grow and iterate. It's a really exciting time.